Welcome back to my channel. I am 9th house Jupiter, and in today's video we're going to be talking all about the Scorpio moon. So if you've looked at your chart and you realise that your moon is in Scorpio, or you know a Scorpio moon and you're just trying to get to understand them on a much deeper level, then this video is for you. Now, as many of you may know, some of you may not know, the moon is one of the big three things to understand about yourself, whatever your sun, moon and rising is, to understand your basic personality traits. But the moon sign is a very interesting placement planet to look at in your chart, because the moon is the most personal. It's the very personal side of you. It's the inner part, the most private part. It's not what people first see when they meet you, because that is your rising sign. It's not necessarily even how you express yourself, because that is your sun sign. So your moon sign, it represents our emotions, our feelings. It's going to give a really good representation as to what type of upbringing we had, or nourishment that we received as babies. And also your moon sign is going to let you know what you need in this lifetime to feel fulfilled. Now, before we jump into the video, my Venus and Pluto are in Scorpio. So when I say I love Scorpios and Scorpio moons, I literally love Scorpio. My brother is a Scorpio, my granddad was a Scorpio, my grandma had a Mercury in Scorpio, my best friend is a Scorpio, my other two best friends outside of that are Scorpio moons. Both my children actually both have quite prominent 8th house energy. So when I say that this is definitely, it's the most dominant energy out of the zodiac that's around me is the Scorpio energy. It's one that, obviously with my Venus being in this sign, it's one that I feel like I understand, but it's one that I have around me a lot. So I'm excited to talk about this moon sign. So let's have a look at what it's like to have your moon in Scorpio. This is a fixed water moon. So right off the back, Scorpio moons are very determined and focused people with that fixed modality there. And with it being the water means that they naturally understand and deal with emotions on a very, very deep level, because water is the emotions and feelings. The moon is the emotions and feelings. So you mix the moon with a water sign, then these are going to be people that are forced to deal with emotions and going to be very impacted in a way by how they do emotionally feel. And the ruling planet of Scorpio is Pluto, and Mars co-rules there. So let's think about Pluto for a second. This is the planet of deep desires, deep willpower, deep transformation. This is the planet that's ruling over the house that deals with death and rebirth, literally. Let's look at Mars for a second. That's our action, our energy, drive, passion, intent, the god of war. It's the aggression planet. So you've got the mix of Pluto and Mars ruling over Scorpio, which makes it straight away a very, very intense and complex energy. Now, when you're putting the moon sign into Scorpio, which is a water sign, you might think that usually that's perfect, putting a moon in a water sign. Like the other water signs, Cancer, Pisces, it's going to work really well. But actually, when we're talking about moon in Scorpio, this is where the moon is fallen here, or in detriment. And that's because the moon is exalted and rules over Taurus, and Taurus is the opposite of Scorpio. So when the moon falls into the opposite sign of where it's exalted, it automatically puts it into fall, which means it's not necessarily the best placement for the planet, because this is a very deep and complex and intense energy for the moon to be in, even on an element level. Let's think about it. I just said this is fixed water. Emotions and feelings, you're meant to are free and expansive and not meant to be restricted. So you put the moon over into fixed water. What's fixed water? Ice, You put the emotions over into the Scorpio moon. It forces Scorpios to internalize and keep within really how they are feeling emotionally, rather than completely expressing it outwardly to people. This is the impact that Pluto and Mars has over this house. Pluto is not here to play games. You should check it out in your chart. Where is your Pluto? What is it aspecting? Because it will be having a prominent effect in your life, particularly if you've got Pluto aspecting your moon and you're already a Scorpio moon, and this is going to super intensify that scorpionic energy that's within a moon sign. But because this is a water moon that we're talking about in effect, and I guess we're also talking about a Pluto-Mars moon here, but let's focus on the water aspect of this moon placement first. This means that Scorpio moons, you are hyper intuitive. All water moons and all water prominent placements have this gift, but it's a very natural gift that you have. You can walk into a room, you can just read it really quickly, you can pick up on people's vibes. You've got like a high bullshit meter. People can't fool you. You're not easily fooled, because naturally, actually, Scorpio moon, Scorpio archetypes are going to be more on the skeptical side of life and not so easily trusting of people. So when you do walk into a room, you might be a little bit guarded, a little more reserved at first, because you are just reading it and seeing what's popping, really, like what's going on in here, who can I gel with, who can I not. So if you've been somewhere and you just pick up this intuitiveness, then you must follow that, because it's a natural gift that you have. Scorpios are very heavily linked to being with one of the most secretive signs that exist out of the zodiac. And this, of course, makes it, when we're talking about the moon here and the emotions and feelings, it makes you really quite private when it comes to expressing yourself in terms of your emotions. And there'll probably only be those one or two people in your life that you really trust, because it's sort of like Scorpio moons and trust. It's, as I just said, you don't necessarily trust people that easily. It takes many years for you to build up that full trust in somebody. You probably only got those one or two people around you that you fully trust to let everything out to. And it's important that you do have someone to let out to, Scorpio moons, because you are so naturally inclined to keep your emotions within. This could play out differently, I guess, depending on your other signs and your other placements. Say if you were a Cancerian, for example, Cancer rising, Sun in the first house, and you might be a little bit more outwardly expressive with your emotion. But let's say you had your Scorpio moon in the fourth house, then you are going to be like super private. Let's think about it for a second. The moon rules over the fourth house of Cancer. It represents the IC. The IC is the most sensitive, private part of us. And then you've got Scorpios. They are very private people, secretive people. So you've got the moon ruling over the fourth sign of Cancer, being so private, plus Scorpio being super private. Put that together. These are people who like to keep how they feel, within. They don't always feel that comfortable expressing outwardly to everybody what's really going on with them. And I think some people actually underestimate how much of a sensitive moon sign this is. They are deeply sensitive people, and I cannot stress this enough, how much of an intense and complex, and there's dark qualities, dark powers linked in with that Scorpio energy. Because let's talk about the 8th house for a second. Scorpio, Pluto, Mars all rule over the 8th house. The 8th house is literally death and rebirth. It's the house of sex. It's the house of shared resources with other people. This is the house of taboo topics. This deals with things that's the unseen, the unspoke of things. And Scorpio moons are often into things that are a little bit more out there or more taboo, I guess. Let's go with the word taboo. So, very much they'll be into crime films, psychology, human psychology, understanding the why, what, where, how people tick and why. Like, these are all traits that are heavily linked to the 8th house. This is also super detective energies. Scorpio moons, wow, you guys are detectives, and have feel this deep thing from within. When you are looking into something, you want to get to the very bottom of it. You want to investigate it. As I say, you've got that slight suspicion. You don't always believe what people say and take that as face value. You'll be like, let me check that out. Let me just check what she just said. Like, just to make sure, right, and you listen, checking it twice. That's the sort of Scorpio energy. You're going to make sure it's correct and accurate, and you've got to the bottom of it. With this being the house of sex, it literally represents sex with others, because it's the 8th house, that 8th of shared. So it's when you get past the 7th house of relationships, 8th house, we get to the house of sex, and the deep transformations that you have to go through that deals with 8th house topics before you can get to the 9th house of higher knowledge and enlightenment. So with this being the 8th house of sex, Scorpio moons naturally have an intensely sexual side to them, and an energy from within. The sexual energy is a very strong one, of course, but when it comes to how other people perceive you. You know, you might just find that people are drawn to you for some reason or another. People stare at you a lot because there's just this magnetic aura that, and this pull and some sort of sexual, like oozing off some sort of sexual vibes really with anyone with prominent Scorpio placements. And one of the things that Scorpio moons will need in this lifetime to have an emotional release will be through sex. Sex is going to be a super how you want it to be anyway, whether or not it's playing out like that. But ideally for a Scorpio moon, they need that deeply connected intimacy with a partner, and I'm talking on a really intense level. Like they're going to want to know every single part of you, every single inch of you. Let's look at a Scorpio moon in terms of a partnership, because wow, the Scorpio moons, you guys are so loyal. So loyal. Like this is ride or die type energy, whether it be a partner or friend. As everyone, best friend Scorpio moon, oh my gosh, if there was ever anything going on with me, and I mean, it doesn't matter what time it is, 2 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, if there was something going down and I needed her with me, one call, Scorpio moon is going to listen to what I'm going to say, and guess what, she'll be at my door as quick as you could believe, ready to help me, ready to protect me. This is a super protective energy. We're talking about a sign that's ruled by Mars, the planet, the god of war, so aggression. There is natural protection there. But in terms of partnership, you are really, really committed when you're with someone. You really do love them and are prepared to go, and are strong enough really to go through thick and thin and go through good times and bad, and are looking for that soulmate, soul connection. These are not surface level people. As I've been saying throughout the video, these are deeply intense people. So if you're with a Scorpio moon, then you need to make sure that you are making them a priority. Let them know how much you're there for them, because they're there for you so much. And I don't even give them a little snippet of something that you could be cheating on them or whatever, because Scorpio moon, that's one way to make them seek revenge. This is a revengeful sign. Let's talk about that quickly as well. Scorpio moons, Scorpio archetypes in general, do have that revengeful trait. Not as in a directly, someone does something, you're going to get them back straight away that very next day, but that they'll bide their time. Whether it be 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, but they won't forget. Also, when in a relationship, Scorpio moons, you might have some quite controlling qualities really over your partner, and that's because, you know, Pluto is very controlling by nature. So you're just kind of suspicious, not the most trusting always with a partner, and you're going to be the type that wants to know everything about them on a really deep level. Scorpio moons, not everyone can handle the intenseness, that's not a word, cannot handle the intensity of the sign and the complexity that this moon sign is. And in a relationship, partnership, this is where your moon sign is going to play out the most, because it's people closest to you that are going to be able to see and feel it. So, you know, opposite to Taurus, as I mentioned earlier with the oppositions, Taurus, they also are quite jealous and possessive people. They see people and things and friends as theirs, literally theirs. And Scorpios, you can be the same way too. And you just have to maybe watch out for that natural suspicion that you have. And, you know, as I've already said, this isn't the most trusting of signs. You need to make sure that doesn't creep over into paranoia slightly, because you could sometimes drive yourself a bit crazy with your thoughts. Especially, anyhow, you've got Pluto aspect in your moon sign. Wow. If you've got Pluto there and you're already a Scorpio moon and you've got Pluto impacting conjunct, working with it, which is just going to intensify it massively, or if you've got that working as an opposition or as a square against Pluto, then these are things, guys, about a birth chart that you need to know in detail. Where is your moon? What house does it fall in? Because this means these traits are going to play out differently. Whatever house your moon is falling in, that is going to be a place, an area of life that's more close to your heart than others, and where you're going to feel this inner need to express yourself. And how your moon is aspected is going to dictate quite a lot of other things in your life. For example, we know, I said at the beginning, the moon represents the mother, or whatever energy raised you really, whether it was male or female, but whatever your moon sign is, your 4th house energy is going to give an indication to how you were raised. So if you are a Scorpio moon, then and it's your chart. It will depend also whether your moon is positively aspected or negatively aspected. But as a general trait, Scorpio moons, your mum would have been would be a Scorpio archetype in some way, shape or form, whether that be she's a Scorpio sun, moon, rising, or she's going to be Pluto's going to be heavily aspecting somewhere, heavy 8th house stelliums, but in some way, shape or form, a Scorpio dominated woman. So she would have been very strong and determined lady, but they're not a type of mum that like plays games really. This is definitely a tough love type of parent, very, very protective over you, though, super, super protective of their children. And if you're a Scorpio moon, you guys are going to be so protective over your children. Like, don't mess with a Scorpio moon's child, because and anyhow, you got Scorpio in your 5th house of children, your moon's there. Wow, you are going to be protective of your children, and you might even have one of your biggest worries and stresses might always be about your children. So this is why it's important to know your information and your chart as a whole, so you can put all this information that you're hearing about and that you're learning about into some sort of context. As Scorpio rules over the 8th house of death, rebirth, transformation, this would also indicate, if you've got a Scorpio moon, that there's been a level of trauma that you've been exposed to in your life. There's been traumatic experiences, and death might have been something that you've dealt with or been aware of or been surrounded by from quite a young age. There's something there with the Scorpio, especially with the moon being here and the emotions and feelings. There's some sort of trauma that's around. One of the reasons why Scorpio moons, you are the type of people that kind of think worst case scenario a lot of the time. Like something, my Scorpio best friend, she will think worst case scenario on everything, and she's so protective of her children. Even if we're just out at the park playing with the kids, she watches them like a hawk, like you wouldn't believe. Scorpio's a bit like, no, what about this, what about that, what if someone takes them? They just think kind of worst case scenario a lot of the times. Scorpio moons may also have some emotionally manipulative tendencies. You guys do know how to emotionally manipulate, because we're talking about the emotions and feelings in the sign of Scorpio, ruled by Pluto, the controlling, semi-manipulating nature. You might find that if you are a Scorpio moon, then your moon sign is completely outpowering some of your other signs. If you've looked at your sun sign and your rising sign and you haven't related that much to it, and you're relating heavily to the Scorpio moon energy, this is because it's so powerful, it's really intense, it's really complex, and this is ruling over the inner side of you. So Scorpio moons, I know that from within, from an early age, you felt this power. You must know and feel the intensity of character that you are, where you can go if you don't control yourself, because as a rule, Scorpio's cool, calm, collected. My brother, Scorpio brother, cool, calm, collected. You're not going to catch him slipping off guard or letting his emotions out. Like, no. My best friend as well, Scorpio, cool, calm, collected. You would meet her, you'd think she was really nice and quite fairly quiet, I guess, reserved. But the other side to the Scorpio energy is intense, and it's real, and they feel things on such a deep level, so deep. I can't stress this enough, how much of an intense moon sign this is. It's a very complex place for the moon to be in, and not everyone can handle just this level of complexity and intensity. So make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who can deal with that, and make sure you have got those 1 or 2 people that you do let things out to. I know you're not going to go and tell everyone everything about yourself. There's something with Scorpios where there's just a part of them that you'll never always know, because they don't want you to, they don't feel the need to share everything about themselves with people. It's just how it is. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. That was my interpretation and my video on the Scorpio moon. If there was anything that I said that you liked or could relate to, then drop me a like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then of course, subscribe. Come with me on my astro journey through YouTube, and coming up in my next video, a fun moon to talk about. We're going to be talking all about the Sagittarius moon. So I'll see you in my next video.